today I will still be playing 1-3 at Little Kings and Queens. I buy in for 1,000 and just the first hand I just sat down. I didn't even get a chance to set up my camera here, so I will just talk through this hand without the footage. Mid position open to 15, hijack calls, and in big blind I look down at ace 5 of diamond. This is a great 3-bet candidate with ace 5 suited, but because we are in big blind and we end the action, and also mid position is only sitting with $200 deep, so I decided to go with a call and see a flop. 3 ways to the flop comes 4, 5, 9 rainbow with 1 diamond. I check, the pre-flop razor check, and hijack bets $25. I believe on this board hijack can have lots of bluffs here and he may actually overvalue himself with a worst 5 or 4 here. Since the pre-flop aggressor checks and shows weakness and really has many ace high here, I decide to call with my middle pair and the best kicker here. Surprisingly, mid position also calls. Turn comes 7 of diamond, and at this time the action check through. River comes another 5. Now we make trips, and I don't think any of these guys can have 6-8 suited and as the turn check through. So definitely going for some value here for some 9s that decide to pot control on the turn. So I bet $120, mid position folds, and hijack decides on a call. I show my ace 5 suited and they're good. Off to a good start. With 2 limpers before me, I am in a small blind looking down at pocket 10s. I raise to $25 given I am out of position, so I open bigger than normal. +1 and low jack limper all call. Flop comes king queen 5 rainbow. I decide to check here and basically give up on this flop with 2 overcards with my pair. But the flop check through. Turn is another king and I check, and actually now I'm ready to call a reasonable bet at least on the turn. However, the action check through again. River is another queen. Well, sitting with 10 high here, mid position bet $20. Although this is a very small sizing and very tempting for me to bluff him, it doesn't really make sense. I have a king here and double check the flop and the turn. So I decide to give up here and fold and moving on. On this hand, I button straddle to $6, 2 limpers before me, and I look down at king jack offsuit. I decide to raise to $40. Only the mid position limper calls, and the flop comes ace queen 6 rainbow. I see bet for $15 as this flop so favors my range. I really like see bet like 1/4 on the flop here with my entire range. Because your opponent theoretically shall never raise you here because I am the only one who can have set of aces, set of queens here. However, my opponent doesn't think so and raised to $65. I do have a gut shot here and sometimes he might think my c-bet sizing is so small and bluff me with a random hand. So I decide to call the flop and see what's going on. Turn is another ace. He checks to me, and now I do have the blocker to all ace king, ace jack that slow played on the flop, and I think here betting can fold out many pairs worse than a queen, and even some queen with a bad kicker can fold here. So I decide to go for it and bet $200. He thinks for a while and decides on a fold. Getting this one through, and yep, this feels pretty good. Mid position open to 12 and I am in low jack having pocket jacks. I 3-bet to $40, cutoff calls, button calls, small blind calls, +1 calls, and mid position calls. Oh my god. So going 5 ways with all of my friends in a 3-bet pot, the flop comes 3, 4, 6, 2 diamond and a heart. This is a mistake that many people have is in a 5 or 6 way pot, overpair and top pair is actually extremely vulnerable. and if you overplay it, you will always win small pot and lose to a very huge pot here. So I decide to check and see what's going on, and the flop check through. Turn is 2 of diamond, plus 1 bet 25, and mid position decide to raise to 130 here. I am obviously losing to a 5, to the flush, and although I do have the jack of diamond, but I am not chasing the forced nuts flush draw here. So I just kiss goodbye to my overpair, and plus 1 also fold. In this hand, 6 limpers to me, and I am in the button straddle looking down at 3 of spade, 4 of heart. Nothing I can do, I check my option. The flop comes deuce 5 10. The under the gun bets $20. I decide to call here with my open-ended straight draw, and actually the mid position check raise to 130 and folds back to me. I do have a pretty tough decision here. So the logic I have is I am sure mid position is that of player that not bluffing to multiple players, and he's sitting with only 100 behind. So that means 99% here he will jam on any turn card. So I have to call 110 to win 300 here, around 33%. But I cannot really realize my equity for my draw on the river because he is very likely to shove on the turn. So pretty obvious I have to make the discipline fold here, and mid position shows pocket kings. Interesting. In this hand, button straddle to $6, and I am in the cutoff looking down at ace 10 offsuit. With 5 limpers before me, I open to 55 and only hijack calls. The flop comes deuce 7 3 2 club. I c-bet for $35 because I have seen this hijack player calling almost every hand on the table, and my ace high is definitely good most of the times. He calls and turn goes an 8. He checked, and I decide to check back here because I do not think that I can get the value from worse, and I do have lots of showdown value against this player. The river is a 9 and he checks again. I think he is really weak here, but there's no reason to turn my hand into a bluff. I will bluff with 6 high or queen high, but ace high is still winning many times. So I decide to check back, and he shows deuce 5 offsuit. Alright, if you call 55 with deuce 5 offsuit, then I think you deserve the win, sir. In this hand, 3 limps to low jack, and he opens to $10. In the hijack, I look down at ace 4 of diamond. With so many limps and such a small open sizing, there are so many dead money in the pot, so I decide to 3-bet to $35 to try to play heads up with the low jack player in position. The big blind cold calls the 35 and also the hijack calls. So 3 ways to the flop of 4 jack queen rainbow. The big blind and low jack checks to me. On this flop, I think the queen and jack is so connected to their range, especially cold calling 3-betting range. So I decide to check back for pot control and maybe bluff cash on the later streets. Turn comes a good card, the ace of spade. Now I get 2 pair here and big blind bets $35. The low jack folds. I do think this big blind player has the ability to bluff here sometime, and he also still has some ace jack, ace queen type of hand cold calling 3-bet preflop. So I decide to just call here and see the river. The river comes 9 of spade, so backdoor flush and straight both get there, and he bets 30. So this is extremely small sizing, basically tells me that he has only 1 pair hand and wants to get showdown as cheaply as possible. Not for me, so I decide to raise for some sim value here. I raise to 125 and he folds. On to the next hand. 2 limpers before me, and in mid position I have pocket tens. I open to $20 and only +1 call, going heads up to the flop with King, Deuce, 6, 2 spade. I c-bet for $15 and he calls. The turn comes 5 and he checks to me. There's no need to bet here because I have the second pair and it's good for showdown now. So I decide to check back and the river is another 6. The mid position player leads for $40. As I pot control on the turn, there's no reason to fold here, so I call and he shows Deuce 7 of club for a pair of deuce. Alright, I guess I will take down that pot. Alright, in this hand I button straddle to $6, hijack limp, and on the button I look down at ace king of club. I raise to $35 and hijack call. The flop comes 5, 5, 10 with 1 club. I c-bet for $20 here and he calls. Turn is 8 of club. At that time I perceive my opponent range has so many small pairs here and I have very strong equity now and I really want to fold out those small pocket pairs. So I decide to overbet for $150 as a semi-bluff. However, looking back this hand, I do think I made a mistake here. The reason why is that this 8 actually helps more for hijack calling range rather than my opening range. He can have more 10-8 suited, pocket 8 type of hand. Besides, he can also have more 5 like 5-6 suited, 5-7 suited, 4-5 suited, etc. But I am not going to raise those hands every time on the button. Most importantly, ace king actually is ahead of many non-believe ace high my opponent can have. He can still have like hands ace jack, ace 9, and some ace x suited with backdoor flush draw calling 1/3 on the flop. If I overbet ace king here, I am being over aggressive at this spot. So I maybe should bet ace 4 or ace 5 of club, since it has less showdown value and I can fold out better ace high, and I can check back with my showdown hand like ace king and ace queen of club. Anyway, I overbet 150 here and my opponent decide to rip it all in for 350. This is not what I planned. Because my overbet the pot is already ballooned and I have to call 200 to win 800. So I need 20% equity here. But do I really have that much? So let's consider all scenarios here. The worst scenario is my opponent has pocket 8s or pocket 5s, so I am nearly drawing that. But if I am facing a 5, I only have 15% equity, which is not enough to call. The best scenario is he has a 10 with a flush draw like 10-9 of clubs. I do have 30% against those type of hand and I should call there. However, I don't really think facing such a overbet sizing the player is balanced enough to shove with his 1 pair and flush draw. So this should be a pretty disciplined fold if I overbet the pot and my opponent is generally not able to rebluff me facing this size. But at that time I don't really have time to do such precise calculation and I thought I am pot committed here, so I made my second mistake with a call. The river comes 10 of club, not the club I'm looking for, and my opponent shows pocket 8. And so we lost a pretty big pot and yep, I think we can do better next time. Alright guys, say hi to Wudong. I just got back to my apartment. I played from 7:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. today. I am in for 1,000 and out for 865. So I lost a little bit like 135. So thank you so much for watching and see you guys in the next vlog. Bye bye.